Okay, this is a preview or review, as your case might be, of lesson 5 of Basic English textbook. This is located on my English for Russian speakers website, and I will link this to that website for those who want to review this lesson or preview this lesson independently. So I'll particularly, review pronunciations and meanings and get some explanation of different elements. So I'm going to scroll down here. First off, here is some vocabulary for this part of the lesson. Apple. I think most of you know what that is, but Alma, apple. To I see there's some letters that are, some words that are too close together. To meet is to gather in one place, like meet for a meeting, meet for class, so forth. So again, the infinitive of this is to meet. Mango is a fruit that is mostly found in tropical areas. You probably at least have tasted mango juice, which is quite popular if you've not actually been to a country or a region that grows mangoes. Man, as opposed to woman. Next line, noun is a people, place, or thing, not as opposed to a verb. So in this set of vocabulary words, you have noun and you have verb, and kind of again, a noun would be the subject of most sentences, and the verb would be the action to it. Anyway, so now some examples of nouns here is apple's a noun, man is a noun, mango's a noun, but to meet is a verb. Pasta is a noun, nice is an adjective. So we haven't that in this group. I don't see it here. Maybe we'll cover that later. So an adjective describes a noun. So you could say very tasty pasta. Tasty would be your adjective for pasta. To sit, again, a verb. All these words that have a to in parentheses after it are verbs. So to sit. In class, we will demonstrate some of these, but these are fairly basic, and many of you already know the words in this group. It's good to review them and make sure that you understand them. So to sit on a chair, for example. So to sit is a verb, and chair is a noun. You're going to sit on a chair. A pen is a noun. Pen is what you write with, such as this. Be careful not to confuse it with pin, P-I-N, which would be something you would stick with. You would stick, or you would use, well, that would be called a needle. You might use a pin to prepare some new clothing to sew. So pen and pin, I very frequently pronounce them exactly the same, and they shouldn't be, I suppose, but they are spelled different. They refer to different things. Whose will lead you to a noun. So whose pen is this? Whose pen in this? So it's a question, and in this, I believe it's in this lesson, they go through several different words that would lead off questions, because they're in teaching you different words. We need to be able to ask questions, and so you need to understand what those question type. I think those are considered adjectives, because you kind of turn it kind of around. So whose pen? So whose is kind of defining pen in a sense. 6, the number 6. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mistake would be a noun. To make a mistake on your essay, for example, is like maybe misspell a word or something. So mistake is an error. To eat. So Stony Boots by East. The chicken is, so I need to start reviewing my Russian again. Go back to America, I forget everything. Kuritsa. The pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun without naming it exactly. So it would be like if I say he went to the store, he is replacing somebody's name. So John went to the store, he went to the store. So a pronoun takes the place of the noun in that situation. Verb again, verb is the action. So again, we have a number of action verbs here: to sit, to eat, to write, to bring, to make. These are all verbs. To correct an error, whatever. So we're learning a combination of nouns and verbs and a few pronouns as we go along through here. Okay, so to correct would be if you make a mistake and I'm your teacher, I would maybe put a mark by it, showing you that it's a mistake. The next line to correct, that's again correcting your paper. I'd be checking off your mistakes. To bring, I bring to the church my computer whenever I'm involved with English Club. So that's what you take with you, carry with you. To write, you write a letter, you write an essay, whatever to write. To make, that can be used in several different situations. You can make a cake. You can eat food. You can, you can make a mistake. That's probably why they put it here, is that we frequently use it in combination with the noun mistake. So I made a mistake in my essay. Okay, so you're combining the verb to make with the noun mistake in that sentence. Okay. The activity here is listen to your teacher read the paragraph below, then read it in unison. So this is something you can practice in advance. Now each student is to read one sentence orally. Carol, Tom, Peter, and Sarah are friends. Okay. They order something in a restaurant. Carol orders pasta. Tom doesn't like pasta. He orders a hamburger. Carol doesn't like apple juice. Sarah doesn't like hamburgers. She orders chicken. Peter orders pizza. They all order mango juice. So you have some questions down here. So you're going to divide, this would have me divide you in groups to role play the dialogue. So you have all these people involved, they're receiving their food from the waiter or waitress, and the narrator. Narrator is kind of reading the story, leading into the dialogue of a play, if you would, or a role play in this case. 4 friends are in a restaurant. The waiter makes mistakes. The friends correct his mistakes. Tom, is this your hamburger? Says Carol. Tom says, yes, thanks, Carol. Peter says, whose chicken is this? Sarah, it's my chicken, thanks, Peter. Tom then says, whose pasta is this? And Carol said, it's mine, I like pasta. Sarah says, whose pizza is this? And Peter said, it's mine, I like pizza. Okay, so that's the basic dialogue in which we could, if we have this many people, we could go ahead and role play this scene in the restaurant. Okay, so now we go to some additional, let me see, I guess these are all words that we already looked at above. And so it's reviewing the conjugation of the some of the verbs. So singular form of to bring is I bring, you bring, he brings, she brings, it brings. And again, we're starting each of those examples with a pronoun, right? We don't say who, so we're replacing the actual name of the person with a pronoun. Plural of the verb is we bring, you bring, they bring. So again, if you could say the waiter brings the food to the table. As the narrator of the play, I could say that. I won't at this time go to the past tense is weird. It's spelled weird. It's not a regular verb, and it's kind of weird past tense conjugation. The next verb they have here is to meet. So again, using the pronouns singular, I meet, you meet, he meets, she meets, it meets. In plural, we meet, you meet, they meet. Going down the next line here, to make. Again, in singular, I make mistakes, you make mistakes, he makes mistakes, she makes mistakes, it makes mistakes. Sorry, I was distracted by a phone call. I believe I was reviewing I guess it's the verb to make. So I make, you make, he makes, she makes, it makes, and in the plural form, we make, you make, they make. To eat, again, singular, I eat, you eat, he eats, she eats, it eats, we eat, you eat, they eat. So in the present tense, that's would be considered regular, but it also has a strange sorry again. Okay, again, interrupted for a moment here. So you have some questions, and in the box you have the answers to it. So do you eat hamburgers? And again, these suggest we might break into groups to ask and answer these questions. The answer in the box is yes, I eat hamburgers. Does he or she eat hamburgers? And the response is yes, he or she eats hamburgers. Do you bring a dog to class? No. I'm sorry. Do you? It doesn't really answer that question. Well, it's number 3. Okay. Well, I see if the answer is no, they're giving you no answer as well. So under number 2 again, does he or she eat hamburgers? No, he or she does not, doesn't eat hamburgers. And under number 1, no, I don't eat hamburgers. So under number 3, no, I don't bring a dog to class. Question 4, does he or she bring a dog to class? No, he or she doesn't bring a dog to class. Number 5 is, do you meet your brother? Yes, I meet my brother. Or no, I don't meet my brother. And number 7, do you make hamburgers? That would be like cooking them, putting them together. And so yes, I make hamburgers. Or no, I don't make hamburgers. And 8, does he or she make pasta? Yes, she makes pasta. He or she makes pasta. Or no, he or she doesn't make pasta. Okay, so just reviewing the pronunciation, and if you have questions about the meaning of the words, we can review that in class. Going down. So this last part here is, I think it's the last part, is doing introductions. And then we go to chapter 6 after that. So let me go back and review. So this is reviewing how you would introduce somebody. So you typically then introduce one side and then you introduce the other direction. So in this case, the speaker talks to the woman. It says, Mary, this is Raymond. And then she talks to the man, Raymond, this is Mary. So this would be considered the appropriate way to introduce two people. And so you kind of treat them as if they're separate, as if they didn't hear the first thing and figure out, they weren't smart enough to figure out who the other person was. So yeah, so Mary, this is Raymond. Raymond, this is Mary. Would be your introduction. Or another possibility here. Well, I said just adding to it actually. So in this dialogue is Mary, this is Raymond. Raymond, this is Mary. And then it would be appropriate for the two people being introduced to respond. So Mary in this case then says, hello, Raymond, nice to meet you. And then Raymond responds, hello, Mary, nice to meet you too. So to mean also, Tosha. So then it gives some names. If we have enough people in class, you each give them a name and have them introduce, the two people that they're with, and so forth. So you kind of practice the dialogue we had before. Okay, now going to lesson 6. The vocabulary they want to cover here is last. And I'm seeing if they have the opposite to it there. Yes. So the first word is last, but then in the second, or actually not really the first one, they started a line ahead of that. Okay, t-shirt would be a casual shirt. This is not a t-shirt here because it has a collar. So a t-shirt would not have a collar. So take off the t-shirt and it would be, or take off the collar, it'd be a t-shirt. Girl, so we had man and woman, but if they're younger, we sometimes use it for adults also. But it's, typical The older girls, if you would, are women. Younger girls are girls. And then similarly, do they have the opposite here? No. But similarly, a younger man would be called boy, or boys in plural. So girls and boys, men and women. Jumping to the second line then, we already mentioned last would be if you have a line, the person at the end of the line is the last person, or the last subject we're going to talk about. So it's at the end. But then on the third line, you see the word first. So first and last. First would be number one in the line, and last would be at the end of the line. So in a test, we have the first question at the top, and then second question. Excuse me, yeah, sounded like I was getting a phone call. So first and last. Then it talks about full is the complete item. If we said, we can use it for something like a glass. This bottle, is this bottle full of water? So it just means taking the whole space. You could say the room was full of people, so forth. In this case, however, it's kind of looks to me like they're trying to relate it to a person's name. And so the question might be, what is your full name? If they ask you that question, then they would be talking about your family name and what we sometimes call your given name. But we sometimes also refer to that to your first name in English, because we put the family name at the end, not at the beginning, as opposed to many of the Asian countries. So when we say last name, we're talking about the family name. If we talk about first name, we're talking about your given name. Like my name is Ken Harvey. My first name is Ken. My last name is Harvey. That's the order in which we introduce ourselves or introduce somebody else, first and last. The first name is also sometimes called the surname, which also means, in essence, first name. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking straight right there. Surname means your last name, your family name, your hereditary name, if you would. And then the first year in English, first name means your given name, the name that distinguishes you from everybody else with your surname, with your last name, with your family name. So, and again, in America, we begin with our first name, our given name, and we end with the surname or family name, the name you inherit that everyone in your family shares, you might say. And then there's also referred to here in the third line, fourth line, I guess, is your middle name. Now, in a lot of cultures, the middle name is another hereditary name, another surname, if you would. So you mentioned both the last name of your father and the last name of your mother. The middle name is quite typically the surname of your mother, and then the last name is the surname of your father. So that is not just in Asia, but also that in Spanish speaking countries, they still start with their given name, but then their second name is their mother's name and their last name is their father's name. In British, I'm not sure about all the European countries, what all their cultures are, but in English, in English, typically both the first name and the middle name are, you might say, given names. They're not inherited, although sometimes they do use them. It's not unknown it's not unknown to use a hereditary name as the middle name. But most frequently, the middle name is chosen. So, for example, my full name is Kenneth Eugene Harvey, and so the name Eugene was chosen arbitrarily by my parents. I don't even know why they chose Eugene, because the person I was named after was an uncle who died young, who drowned as like a 20 or 21-year-old. But they did not give me his middle name. They gave me a different middle name. So his name was Kenneth Harvey. I don't even remember his middle name, but it wasn't Eugene. On the other hand, my older brother took my father's name, and that was in complete form. My father was named Robert Gordon Harvey. My older brother was also Robert Gordon Harvey. To not get confused, while we were growing up, we all called him Gordon or Gordy for short. When you duplicate somebody's name, the child is typically also then at the end is called Junior. So he was Robert Gordon Harvey Jr. Later on, when he became a university professor, he did use his full name. The full Robert Gordon Harvey Jr. as his name, but within the family, we still called him Gordy or Gordon as a nickname, or using his middle name, or Gordy as his nickname. We call it the shortened form of Gordon. Okay, going back up to the third line. No, I guess second. Then we'll go back to the second. We didn't finish that. So, town is like a village. It's not big enough for us to consider it a city. So, but we rarely use the word village in America. I think they do more in Great Britain and some of the other English-speaking countries, but in America, we use the word town, not village. And so I was raised near the town of Mesa, Washington. Mesa meaning spelled the same, but pronounced differently than in Arizona. They have one of their larger cities is called Mesa, and that's really how it would be pronounced in Spanish. But I guess people who first moved to Washington State didn't know how to pronounce Mesa in the Spanish form, so they called the city Mesa, M-E-S-A. So it's a very small village of about 200 people or something. So again, to kind of tie this together, in the third line is the word city, which I referred to. A city is typically thought of as a larger community. New York City. San Francisco is a city in California. Los Angeles is a city in California, a large city, one of our larger cities. Chicago is a city, so forth. But technically, in many of the states anyway, in the state of Washington, where I grew up, when you incorporate your city, when you make it legal, and you're qualified to elect a city council and a mayor and so forth, as soon as you are incorporated and become a legal unit in the eyes of the state, you are a city. So even Mesa, near where our farm was, of 200 people, is a city, the city of Mesa, Washington. So that, in a legal sense, it doesn't matter how big you are, in Washington at least, and I think most of the states. you incorporate that small community of only 200 people was incorporated. It is recognized by the state as a city, albeit a very small city. And you might refer to as a village, and we refer to as a town. So, but village and town are essentially the same. Okay, going back to the third line towards the very last word, or excuse me, the second line, to buy another verb. So we're gradually covering some often used verbs. So to buy, kupit, and in the next line another, down. Well, other verbs covered here. Let's just look at the one again within parentheses to behind them. So to buy, kupit, to study. I study my lessons. And at the bottom, to come to the party, for example. And then, yeah, so that's all we're going to cover in this box for the verbs. So again, making sure we already covered first versus last. Picture. So for your ID, for your identification card, such as my driver's license. Actually, I guess this is my identification card as they refer to me as a permanent resident of Kazakhstan, but actually only gives me 5 years. So I guess I presume I'm going to die before the 5th year. I don't know. But anyway, identification cards frequently have a picture on them, right? So we would, in order to get a visa or something, we submit a picture of ourselves, or like in a government office, when I got this card, they had me they took a picture of me within the office and put it directly onto the card. So picture, obviously, there's two words that are both used almost simultaneously, photo and picture. I don't know if that's true in Russian. I haven't really thought about it. But in English, it's basically the same, except picture could be drawn as a piece of art. So a painting could be considered a picture. A photo is definitely by camera, or in our case nowadays, your smartphone would be to take a picture, take a photo. So a photo can be called a picture, but a picture is only a photo if it's a photo. If you've taken it with a camera or your smartphone or whatever, so it's digital in nature. Nowadays, almost always digital in nature. Nowadays, when I was younger, I took photography classes and I did a lot of photography with requiring the darkroom. In that case, it's not really digital. Yeah, because you're making it's a process, but it's not a process with which you can send something over the internet or something, unless you make a copy of it, a digital copy of it. But a good share of my career in both journalism and advertising, I did a lot of photos. And so a photo is a picture, but a picture is not a photo necessarily. I mean, it can be, but it's not absolutely a photo. Okay, going to the next line. Talked about middle, like middle names. How about setting up again a question, the types of words you would use in asking a question. So let's say you say, my name is Ken. A question might be, how about your last name? Or how about your family name? It's kind of a strange place to put this question, I would normally start with the word how in introducing a question. So, how are you? You know, how Kakela basically would be how are you? Or you might ask, how many children do you have? Um, it's less common to say how about something. But if you say, well, let's get together for dinner, then frequently ask the question, how about tomorrow? Or you might first ask, when do you want to meet for dinner? And then the other person might respond, how about Sunday? So it's kind of, it's not as common to use how in this form, how about, as it is in other types of questions. But it is frequently kind of when you're setting setting up a date or something, then how about would be a common question as to you're asking, would this day be okay? So, well, let's get together for dinner. How about Sunday? Well, I prefer Saturday or whatever. You kind of negotiate when you're going to get together. And so that particular wording, how about, is really asking, as you're negotiating or discussing something, would this day or time or situation be okay? Okay, where I talk about to study, to study for a class and so forth. Time, that would be using, especially if you're talking about getting together for some reason. What time is it now? What time do you want to meet? That sort of thing. So time is would relate to those sorts of questions. Number, número dos, so forth. So número, number, that should be pretty easy to remember. Would you like to come to my home? And in fact, I had talked before I left for America that we might have a party or barbecue or something at my home near Kazakhstan. If weather permits, if it starts getting warmer again, we might still do that, or at least offer that opportunity if you'd like to come to my home in Kazakhstan. New as opposed to old. So new T-shirt. I bought a new T-shirt. I bought a new what do we call this? Sports shirt, I guess you could call this, with when it had the collar to it. I bought new clothes while I was in America. I want to have clothes in America so I don't have to take a big suitcase when I go to America. And I also have clothes here in Kazakhstan, so I don't have to take a big suitcase coming back. And as I get older, and I have more desire to keep life simple. Then, so like I said, if I have a home in America, I have a home here, and I don't want to be carrying heavy suitcases back and forth. I want it to be real easy. So I bought new clothes in America. Some I brought here, some I left there, and so forth. I never buy a new car. Scientifically, they have shown that it's always cheaper to, not always, you're taking a chance with an old car for sure. But typically you save money if you don't buy a new car, if you buy an older car, when you calculate the cost per mile and so forth. So I don't buy new cars. Great. Might be a response to the question, can you come to the party? And you say, great. as a response. In other words, it's affirmative that you're going to come, that you're happy to come, whatever. Or if you're negotiating about where to get, where to go for dinner, so where would you like to go? How about, what's a good one I like? Forgetting some places I go to here. What's it called? I like the Chinese food place downtown. What is that called? I forget. Anyway, we actually have found another place closer to home and a little bit cheaper that we go to. So I don't go to that Chinese food place anymore. So anyway, how about we go to Burger King, and the response might be great. What time? How about 6 o'clock? You could say great again, but that's kind of redundant. So you said that. I would like to. We'll see you then. How about at 6? Whatever. Okay. So going down further into chapter 6. It's going through contractions. Contractions in English is where you take out a word and basically make two words into one, but you put an apostrophe in between to show that you've taken something out. So, I am, you can make that into apostrophe, but they're not showing that here. But they are showing the negative. So I am not, you would shorten to I'm not. The going down, you are not, then you would shorten to you're not. He is not, shorten to he's not. She is not, shorten to she's not. It is not, shorten to it's not. Next to line, or plural, we are, we are not, we're not. You are not, you're not. They are not, they're not. Now you can do positives. It may be a little more common doing the negative, and so that's, I guess, why they're teaching it. This is the verb to be or not to be. That is the question. But you can use positive also. I'm a professor. So I'm making a contraction of I am. I'm a professor. You're a student. He's a student. She's a student. It's a book. Whatever. We're friends. You're a student, meaning more than one person in plural form. Or you're students, so in plural form. They're students in plural form. Okay. So contractions are used extremely. One thing that America culturally is very different than a lot of other countries is that we don't like long. We like to shorten everything. We're always in a hurry. And so contractions demonstrates that in literary format. So we're not going to say I am a professor. I'm going to say I'm a professor at KEMEP or whatever. Okay, so the whole class activity that it suggests here is answer the question orally using negative contractions of to be. So are you in a restaurant? And the answer would be no, I'm not in a restaurant. Is she an American? No, she's not an American. Is he English? No, he's not English. Number 4, are they waiters? No, they're not waiters. Waiters are those that take your order and deliver your food. Are we in Russia? No, we're not in Russia. Is he in town? This suggests in English, when you ask that question, is he in town right now. Town sometimes meaning city. It's you're trying to figure out whether he's traveling or something. And so even if you're in a big city like Almaty, if you're asked, is he in town? It's really talking about the city that you're in at that time. He's not traveling outside of the city. So even though the town is typically means a smaller city, in this situation where you're asking, is he not traveling? Is he available? For example, you're trying to find out whether you can call him or go visit somebody. Then is he in town? No, he's not in town. In other words, you can't come to the office and visit him. He's not here. So it doesn't mean, again, if you're in a big city, you would normally think, well, you wouldn't say, he should say, is he in the city? And, but in English, they're going to say, no, he's not in town. But anyway, the contractions are a reflection of, and it's also a reflection of us having shorter names, the Russian names and many other European names, or the idea of using two last names, your mother's last name and your father's last name. Those are not things we do in America. We want it to say it quickly. And we use mostly the shorter versions, like Ken for me instead of Kenneth. I rarely refer to myself as Kenneth. So unless I'm asked by a government official or something, what is your full name? I'm going to say I'm Ken Harvey, so forth. So we go short. We don't like, like in Russian, the idea of, the theater named after so and so, the university named after Almaty. We don't like those sorts of long titles and stuff. We avoid that. Okay. Going down, then exercises 2 and 3. Exercise activity 2 is read this paragraph orally, divide into groups of 3 or 4, ask each other the questions, try to answer, then look at the answers in the box. So Emily's name is Emily Jane Prescott. Her first name is Emily. Her middle name is Jane, and her last name or surname is Prescott. Her full name is Emily Jane Prescott. That's using basically a lot of those words we just learned up top. So is Emily a girl? And your response, if you look in the box, you'll say yes, Emily is a girl. Yeah, they're doing it short. Yes. What is her first name? Her first name is Emily. What is her middle name? Her middle name is Jane. What is her last name? Her last name is Prescott. Is her surname Prescott? Yes, her surname is Prescott. Okay, that's all I have in this set of PDFs. So all of lesson 5 and part of lesson 6. And I think today in class, we did not cover all of this, I don't think, in class before I left for America. So we will at least review everything here in the class that I have today. I'm going to go ahead and put this video online and make a link to it on our English for Russian speakers website.